Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. This is a labor of love for me, so I'm always thankful that you guys are here watching the video. Thank you so much for doing that. This week, we're going to take a look at a new healing anime. It came out this past July, and it's called Ruri Rocks. Say that 10 times fast. The other title that's also known by is Introduction to Mineralogy. Alright, so before we get into the review of the anime, for those of you who happen to be new to the channel, here's what I do and what I mean when I give an anime the 3-episode treatment. So when I want to do a review of an anime, I watch the first 3 episodes, and if it's not a short run OVA or a movie, I give 3 episodes, and that usually gives me an idea of where the anime is going, whether or not I like it. Gives me a sort of like a vibe, that kind of a thing, so I have an idea of whether or not I want to continue watching this. So there you go. I gave Ruri Rocks the 3-episode treatment, and I have to say I'm kind of impressed by it. I came across this one in a watch party back in the summer watch party back in July. That was when the first episode came out, and we were kind of impressed with it, but we felt that it was kind of a slow burn, a slow mover. And so I came back to it last week and just said, let's give it a couple more episodes and see how it progresses. So hence the review. Anyway, so let's get into the particulars. Let's talk about the anime itself. And so Ruri Rocks, like I said, came out in July. Actually, it was released on July 6, 2025. It is now at 12 episodes, by the way. It is on Crunchyroll, so you can find it there. It is done by Studio Bind, and they have not done much. They've done, I think, looks like 5 animes and 1 OVA since 2021. So I think they're a fairly new one. It looks like they are specializing in creating manga from from healing mangas and light novels. So I think that's what they are about. I think this one is going to be their big winner. To be honest. So it started, of course, as a manga, and it started in August of 2019, and it's still going. It's got 7 volumes right now. It's being printed in Harta magazine. The imprint is Harta Comics, so you'll definitely be able to find this out in the world. And like I said, it's still going on. It's got 7 volumes right now, and we got 12 episodes of the anime. It's written by Kichiro Shibuya, and I don't know much about him. If you do, please give us some information down below if you would. Thank you. All right, so what is Ruri Rocks? It's a healing anime, as I said, and it has to do with basically mineralogy or geology. So Ruri, our heroine of this story, we're gonna go into the plot now. So basically, she's at a arcade or store or something with one of her friends. She's, I believe, a sophomore in high school, and she sees this very pretty crystal pendant that she wants but cannot afford. So she goes back home, and we get an idea that she is a little bit flighty, and she gets home. And she goes to her mom. She goes, "Can I get an advance on my allowance?" And the mom is sitting there cooking, going, No, you may not. And Rory doesn't throw a temper tantrum, but she does the thing of, "Oh, I want, I need, please, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll work extra chores, blah, 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 blah." And she does the thing. So we get the idea that she's kind of sheltered and is a little bit spoiled. I wouldn't call her a brat. She is not unlikable. And even when she's doing this, it's just more of a cute, okay, she's being annoying to the mother, but she's kind of being cute. She's of that age, So what's important to her really isn't important in life, right? So the mother is like, absolutely not. We're not doing this. Okay, fine. What do you want to spend the money on? And so Rory tells her that, she saw this pendant. It's a crystal, and she really wants it, and, da-da-da-da. And the mother goes, no, we're not doing this. We're not going to spend the money. The mother's nice, by the way. She's not being mean or anything. The mother's just very gently just being firm. And a good mother basically saying, look, no, dial it back a little bit. And she goes, well, But the mother then goes, well, Rory, you know how your grandfather used to you make pendants for you? And she was like, uh-huh, you really like those crystals. And she's like, oh, yeah, yeah, those were beautiful crystals. Grandpa used to bring them. Well, he used to find them just over that way, and she gives Rory the directions on how to go there. So she's like, so if you want your own crystals, why don't you just do what your grandpa used to do and just go out there and find them and bring them back, and we'll, go from there. So Rory is just like, hey, that's a great idea. And so she's excited by the idea. She wants to go out there and she wants to find the crystals. And you're just like going, okay, so there's a little bit of like going, she's willing to put in a little bit of work, to do the thing. And this is when we realize like how like sheltered in the world she actually is. So she's going out there. Now, we all know, you and I know, that in geology, and you have to dress appropriately because you're going out there digging up things and smashing things with hammers, rocks with hammers, and you're going to get dirty. You're going to have hiking, and you're going into the mountains and riverbeds and all this, that, and the other thing. And Ruri goes, oh, I'm just going to put on my pretty sundress, a little hat, a basket, and a little trowel, a tiny ass thing you use in a garden to dig like 3 inches down into the ground. And she thinks that she's going to go out and find crystals. She fails spectacularly. She doesn't find the crystals. And so she's getting frustrated, and she's out there. Oh yeah, by the way, she's wearing sandals with a little bit of a heel on them. So way to think forward. So she's out there and she's getting frustrated, and then she kind of turns around and she sees this woman a little down ways from her, and this woman is very tall and long dark hair and very statuesque and has very distracting large tracts of land. I don't know how else to put it politely. So Rory kind of sees this woman and notices that she's actually looking at things, like cracking open rocks, kind of looking at it, and just kind of just doing the thing. And she's got this, including a satchel with her tools, and she's got a tool belt, and she's got this ginormous like Thor, Mjolnir type hammer slung over her shoulder. And so Rory is just like, oh, well, maybe she can help me out. And she looks like she kind of knows a thing or two. And so she goes over there. Oh, and by the way, this is not a mystical fantasy thing, even though she has a Thor-like hammer slung over her back, Nagi. Turns out the woman's name is Nagi. Her hammer is literally, well, I'll explain that in a moment. So Ruri comes up to her and says, hey, look, my grandpa used to find things out here. This is what I like. I'm looking for the shiny thing that makes me happy. And Nagi goes, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. So here you go. Let's go around here. And leads her and tells her how to find these things, and kind of gives a little lesson. Rory is just like, wow, okay, this is a little bit interesting, I think. And I'm finding the things I like, and there's a ton of them. And ooh, there's other shiny things. And Nagi is kind of gently just saying, hey, and if you look over here, because this rock is shaped this way, or it's in this river, and we think it might be this, that, and the other thing. And she's kind of just giving Rory just like a very basic, Geology 101, intro to geology. Here you go. So Rory goes, wow, thank you. And Rory goes, hey, do you mind if I follow you and learn a couple more things? And Nagi is just like, yeah, absolutely. Come along. I'd love to have the company. So they're walking through, and of course Rory keeps falling down on the trail because she's totally inappropriately dressed for anything. And she notices when she gets back up the hammer over Nagi's shoulder and says, wow, what's that all about? And Nagi goes, well, yeah, I don't know if this is actually useful or anything. It just looked cool, so I bought it. Maybe it might be able to smash the rocks. I have no idea, but I kind of wanted it, so there you go. So we see a little wistful side of Nagi. So they go through. By the end of the episode, we learn that Ruri is very much interested in what Nagi has to tell her, because Nagi is saying, you can find a lot of stuff out there in the world. You just have to be willing to go out there. You have to put in a little bit of work. You have to do the thing. And, you might be able to find all the crystals that you want, that you can make a thing out of. And Rory is just like, great. And Rory kind of goes off into a sophomore girl rant about materialism, not materialism in and of itself, but basically like abusing the landscape for her own ends is basically what it amounts to. And Nagi very sternly says, no, look, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Look, if you want to come with me on these trips when I come out here. I'd love to have you, but we have to be on the same page. We treat things with respect. We don't just take things. We are going to be polite. We're going to do it the right way. And Rory immediately gets it, right? She it sinks in very quickly. It's not like she has an epiphany moment. She's just like, yeah, what she's saying makes sense, and I need to be a little bit better about this. So okay, I'll do the thing. So one of the nice things about this anime, I'm just going to cut out of the plot here real quick, is that Rory's character development is a very short, or at this point is a very short trip. We go from spoiled, cute brat to somebody who's willing to, change a little bit because she's finding things interesting and wants to continue down that particular path. So the next episode, we get more of like things like searching for gold and searching for other types of things, and how does this work? And Nagi explains for us how rocks move, how weather affects things, how nature affects things, how like sometimes you can find deposits because this is how a riverbed works, and it's just really kind of interesting stuff, honestly. And Ruri is being cute, doing the cute girl thing of just like trying to find the stuff and being basically an assistant to Nagi. Nagi's taking her under her wing, and they find, and Ruri actually finds, using Nagi's advice and techniques, finds a very rare pyrite, I think that's how you say it, which is a type of crystal. Shows it to Nagi. Nagi's like, oh, this is a big deal. This is important. And so, she goes, this is great. We're going to go, let's go home. And, do you want to go out next week? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. So as they're going home, Ruri is kind of looking at the big old hammer that Nagi has, but also is remembering the actual more appropriate hammer that Nagi was using. And she goes to her mother and goes, Ruri goes to her mother and goes, can I have an advance on my allowance? And the mother's like, what did I tell you? No. And Rory goes, no, let me explain. And at the end, and the next scene is Rory on a field trip with Nagi going through the woods, and you see a little tool belt on Rory, and it has the proper hammer. So that's what she spent her advancement on the allowance. So her mother is just like, okay, we can do this. This is fine. Self-sufficiency. We're going to do this. By the third episode, Nagi invites Rory to say, hey, look, let's go to the college that I am at. I am a master's degree student right now. I'm going for my PhD, so I'm kind of doing these things. Let me introduce to you one of my fellow classmates, a couple of years behind me, and so I want to show you something. So Rory comes with her and sees for the first time what a college dorm kind of looks like, a college research dorm, and she's kind of amazed and somewhat just like, what's going on here? And she meets, the third of the party, whose name I'm blanking on, but basically the band is together now. This is the episode where the band gets together, and so Nagi introduces Ruri to the other student, who's also helps Nagi with her research. And a lot of this is talking about finding old topographic maps and going out to visiting a mine. But before they do that, Nagi goes, oh, let me show you something. Pulls out a research paper, and it has Rory's name on it as being part of the study for having helped her find the pyrite. And she wrote a little thing about how Rory actually found it using the methodology that Nagi had explained to her. So to, kind of, pad up the research paper. And so that's a big deal. And Rory's so happy. I mean, wouldn't you be stoked if someone like, who you're kind of looking at as a mentor says, hey, you did such a great job. I put you, kudos. Here you go. Your name's, people are going to know who you are. That's kind of cool, right? So Rory's, excited about this. They go out to the mine, and we have a nice episode about the mine. I don't want to spoil it for you. And at the end of it, they had a great trip, and Nagi is kind of staying there thoughtful, and Rory's just like, is everything okay? And Nagi kind of goes, yeah. So I have a rock, back in it's actually a gem, and I don't know where it's from. And Rory and her friend and the Nagi's friend are just like, oh, really? And so Nagi turns around and goes, would you guys like to be my research team and help me find the location, the origin of this gem? And Rory's just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it. What is it? What is it? Is it going to be another pyrite? Is it going to be a crystal kind of thing going on? What are we doing? And Nagi turns around and goes, we're going to look for where this sapphire came from. Ooh. So that was the end of episode 3. And I feel that for the next, that's going to be the story arc, is them trying to track down where this sapphire originally came from. So that is the plot. Not very drama filled at all. It's a healing anime. So let's talk about that for a second. So most healing anime tend to be slow. They're slow burns. They're not, they're if there's any drama in them, a lot of them don't have drama, but whatever drama may exist is usually incredibly low stakes drama. It's not a big deal. It's more along the lines of like Ruri going, but I want the crystal, and not getting it. But so there's not very much high stakes of this. It's not like a sports anime where, someone goes, I must avenge my father's defeat at the hands of the Okinawa Okras. There's none of that. There's none of the will they go to the nationals. So this is just kind of a slow burn. And that's one of the things I want to point out about this particular healing anime is that of the healing anime that I've watched, this is probably the slowest one. So I just kind of want to warn you in saying that this is something that's going to take its time. I feel like the rest of the series is going to move you through this adventure incrementally, show you some things, cute girls doing cute things, that kind of stuff, learning a thing or two about geology maybe, and seeing these wonderful landscapes. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about that, the animation. The animation is very well done. Everything is kind of crisp. The CGI is used to accentuate, not to be the main focus. And so while you can see that CGI affects like a little bit of the character designs, it's not overwhelming. And it's used more, I think, for the actual background nature, particularly with the riverbeds and with the sun shining onto the riverbeds when you have an overview look at them. So it is wonderfully animated. We are starting to see a style in animation with hair with like a two-tone color, like a outside color and then an underneath color. It's not meant to be that they're dyeing their underneath hair. That's just kind of like an animation style of hairstyles. And so we're seeing that in some of the characters. The eyes in this anime, oh my goodness, they are very, very striking, incredibly striking. Lines are neat. Where they need to be. They're fuzzy when they need to be. The CGI works very well, like I said. It's a very visually pleasing anime. I mean, just watching it, just looking at it is just a nice thing to do. I do have a complaint, though. And it's an odd one, I think, maybe, perhaps, depending on your point of view. And the complaint is this. Nagi, like I described, is statuesque. She has very long hair, dark hair. She's a kind of a sort of a athletic kind of like think the goddess Nike / Aphrodite, and that's kind of the build that you're looking here. Strong, but attractive, and she has, as I said before, large tracts of land. To the point that they are very distracting, and I mean that literally. There are moments in the anime where they use that as sort of a way to make a joke or do a visual funny for you or whatever. But there are moments when, there were a couple times where I just kind of went, good Lord. And then I realized I missed an entire sentence. I had to roll it back a little bit just so I could see or hear what I missed. It's that distracting. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, of the things I have to complain about, that's not really a horrible thing now, is it? No, it isn't. But anyway, the point is that it does get a little bit distracting from time to time. That's my only real complaint. So, should you watch this anime? Well, if you are into the healing animes, definitely, this is going to be right up your alley. If you like slow-moving anime, this is definitely going to be up your alley. This is a slow mover. Even for a healing anime, this is a slow burn. There's not going to be any shonen, so you have to know what you're watching, which is basically a healing anime. So if you like that kind of a thing, or if you want a palate cleanser, let's say you just watched the most ridiculously violent shonen thing you've ever seen in your life, and you just like, I need some therapy. This is a very good one to run into. Now, here's the thing that I would say to you, though. If you are watching other anime, we all have our list, right? This is something that I would put a little further down your list because it is such a slow burn, such a slow mover. I you should watch it. Don't get me wrong. You need to watch it. But if there are other things you want to watch first, probably a good idea. And this is also kind of an anime where I think you can watch like 2 or 3 episodes, stop, go watch something else, come back to it later, and still enjoy it. I think that's something that you can do with this. So this isn't an anime that I would recommend binging. I would take your time with it. So just so you know. But yes, I think this is a well-crafted well-crafted anime. The animation itself, like I said, is quite pleasing, and it's kind of fun just kind of watching cute girls digging in the ground for minerals and gold. Yeah, they go for gold, and eventually this adventure with Sapphire. See how that turns out. All right, so that is Ruri Rocks. I think it's pretty good. So that was Ruri Rocks. I hope you enjoy it. Give it a watch. Let me know what you think down below, and keep it clean, no trolling. And yeah, so we got a couple things coming up. We've got Anime USA coming up in October. I believe that's, let me look at the calendar here. I think that's the weekend of the 12th, October 12th. That is, yes, so it's going to be the 10th through the 12th, October, down in Virginia. I'll put the link down to Anime USA down below. So if you happen to be going, or you're thinking of going, please do, because I am actually doing 3 panels there. Yes, I am. It's official. So I'm going to be doing an anime about discount bin anime. Those are the oddball titles that you kind of find in weird places. I'm going to do a panel called The Calm and the Angry. It's going to be about Akira Kurosawa, the great Japanese director who did Seven Samurai, and his muse, Toshiro Mifune, who is in most of his movies. So I'm going to be talking about those 2 guys and a group of movies that I think you should see of theirs that they both worked on. And the other one is going to be all about music from Ghost in the Shell, second gig. That's the storyline with the individual 11 and Kuze and the refugees. And I'm talking about that particular soundtrack, which is Ghost in the Shell second gig OST 2. So I'm going to be talking about that album. I'm going to be giving you 3 or 4 of my favorite songs about it, talk about those, and talk about the influential artists on there, which is, of course, Yoko Kanno, Ilaria Graziano, I believe is how you say her name. Beautiful voice. We all know her work. And, of course, Steve Conte, who has worked with Yoko Kanno also on various projects, including Wolf's Rain and Cowboy Bebop. So if any of those panels are of any interest to you and you want to go to Anime USA, please show up, say hi. I would love to see you there. Brent Newhall from over in Anime Archaeology is also doing panels there as well, and you should go see his stuff. He's pretty good too. More than pretty good. He's actually quite good. So that's it. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering about the background here. So what I used to call my hibernation chamber, I switched it up for a new one. So I actually meaning I have a real bed now. And that's going to be literally just on the other side of this computer. So we're going to see this for a while. I haven't decided exactly how we're going to work things out. I have a very small apartment, so I have only so much space to work with. But you might be seeing this background for a little while. So there you go. Anyway, so that's it for this week. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. And please keep yourselves healthy. Do what you need to do to stay healthy, because I want to see you guys out in the wild at conventions. And if you happen to see me, please come up and say hello. I would love it if you did that, and we can have a little chat about anime. That would be totally awesome. So with that, I'm going to sign off with what I usually say, which is, as always, watch more anime.